badge abuse. Snatching rights quick like they cut the fuse. Justice ain't blind, it's squinting for clues. The lens don't lie, it's spilling the news. Morgan County Blues, deputies in the skies. Force excessive, aggression amplified. Photographer frame, truth tangled in chains. Retaliations, war runs wild in the plains. Flashbacks in the real, stories getting spilled. Every frame of flame, crooked truths revealed. Boots and green, shadows under street lights. Misuse of power echoing through the night.
Hey everybody, I just want to make a quick update video, let you guys know where things are at. If you haven't been following along to some of the videos, I'm a real estate photographer. I was arrested in Morgan County, Utah, simply for taking photos of a listing for a client. To start off, I want to say thank you, because the support, the love, I'm overwhelmed. I can't say enough. You guys are great. Wow. So thank you. This video, I just want to cover where things are at, the motions I've filed, the prosecution's position, the lies, exaggerations that they are trying to use to build a case against me, even though they should have thrown it out immediately. We'll go over quite a few details and let you guys know exactly where things are at. This isn't just about an illegal, unlawful arrest. This is about a system that thinks it's untouchable. A country that hides behind silence and power. And me, a citizen that refuses to stay quiet. For starters, let's fill you guys in on some details that did not make it into the videos. After the complainant approached me, I walked away to go shoot the pickleball court. While I was over at the pickleball court, her husband came at me, cursing, acting aggressive, had his fist clenched, screaming F this and F that, and I didn't say a word to him. I knew that if I said anything, it's just going to escalate the situation. Plus, my mother always told me, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. And to tell you the truth, I could not think of one nice thing to say to that gentleman. So, he looked at me, I looked at him, I gave him a look like, and he lunged at me, making me think he was going to hit me. I ignored him. He walks away. Deputy Boots was made aware of that incident. He even admitted it. He knew I had been assaulted. Decided to do nothing about it. But anyway, the husband walked away. I went and shot the playground. And then I was walking back to shoot the front of the townhouse. And as I was walking back, the homeowner returned home. They had left to not be in the way of the photos. As soon as they got there, I let them know immediately, hey, your neighbor over here is having an issue. She harassed me. The husband came out, tried to fight me. Let him know that that would have been a bad idea for the husband. And he got out of the car, stood with me, I'm sure, to make sure that there was any other issues so he could be there to explain. And I'd taken a photo, we were chit-chatting, and that's when Deputy Boots pulled up. He gets out, we both tell him, hey, we're doing real estate photos. I leave the homeowner to talk with him and just tell him what we're doing. Most times when this happens, they find out I'm doing real estate, they go tell the complainant he's doing real estate photos. And then they leave. Or I've had them stay and say, hey, we'll just stay here and make sure nobody else bothers you. It's what I was expecting to have happen. Instead, I'm immediately asked for my ID. I'm told that I'm being detained for taking photos from the street of the front of the building because other people's personal property and cars were in the photos. I argued that, said it was ridiculous. He asked me for ID. I said, no, you don't know what you're doing. He then tried to use trespassing to ID me. He only wanted my ID. I asked him if he was going to solicit a trespass. Gave me a dirty look and walked over to the complainant. And I think the rest of the story you guys have seen in the video or can find in the videos. When they detained me, they actually took this right hand and pushed it all the way up here. That separating tendons in my elbow and in my shoulder. Excessive force. Simply for asking, why do I have to follow unlawful orders? The prosecution is trying to say I was resisting and pulling away. A lie. Captured by their body cameras in their own evidence. Yet they still choose to lie. It irritates me because 3 years ago, I was in a car accident. And this shoulder was separated. It took me a year to recover. I got to enjoy a year of not being in pain until this incident. Now, my arm is weak, numb, and constantly in pain. I've had to reduce my workload, which has affected my income. This ordeal has hurt me financially. It's hurt my ability to work or enjoy my work. It's hurt my relationships. It's caused anxiety. It's caused depression. But I haven't stopped fighting. And that's because I know that this is bigger than me. And I'm going to continue to fight. And I'm going to bring attention to this because I know it will have a resounding effect beyond just me. So, that said, let's go over some of the motions. So, this is the motion to dismiss. I basically cover how the First Amendment is a protected activity and officers construing the act of photography, the protected act of photography, into a crime is a violation of my First Amendment rights. I cover lack of reasonable suspicion and immediate dissipation of suspicion upon arrival. I state the call logs where there's no reasonable articulable suspicion. I point out that immediately when Boots arrived, meeting the homeowner, all suspicion was dispelled. And I cover Terry v. Ohio. I go through and I explain the interaction that I had with the client, the truth. I go over the unlawful shift in justifications and the timeline. In the first 11 minutes, I'm told that I'm being detained for disorderly conduct and trespassing. At the 11-minute mark, Jax arrives and introduces voyeurism as the justification. The total detention was 47 minutes, well beyond the time required to resolve any lawful suspicion. Then I cover the Fourth Amendment, filled with case law, even bringing up interference in discovery. I go over the 14th Amendment violations, selective enforcement, prosecutorial misconduct, the prosecution's delayed obstruction, the county attorney's interference in public records, the prosecutor's attempt to mislead the court, the failure to turn over key evidence, and abuse of process and retaliatory intent. I cover how the charges are irrelevant, my personal qualifications, and I ask the court to grant the motion of dismissal for a violation under the 1st, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendments. So, don't judge me too harshly. I am not an attorney. I have been many things, but an attorney is not one of them. That's my motion. Now, let's take a moment and look at the prosecution's response. So, I'm going to go over this quickly because most of it is a misrepresentation of what actually took place. What I want to point out, though, is he really is forcing the point that the complainant is a victim. He says the victim had her windows open and that she may be in the photos. Neither the witness statement nor the call log that was received or what dispatch told the officers stated anything other than I was taking photos of the building. It was Deputy Boots who introduced the idea that she was in the photo and that she was concerned. It was not the complainant. I walk away from the homeowner to take pictures of the neighbor's home. It was the entire front of the building I was taking photos of, and their personal vehicles. Deputy Boots inquired about the reason for taking pictures of the neighboring homes. Deputy Boots several times asked the defendant to identify himself, which defendant refused. Deputy Boots told defendant not to leave while he investigated the complaint and spoke with the reported victim. You see what he does there? He tries to avoid saying, "He told me that I was detained." Deputy Green, who was also present, heard Deputy Boots direct the defendant to step away from him. When defendant refused, Deputy Green approached defendant and told him to step away from the vehicle as ordered by Deputy Boots. I wasn't ordered to step away, I was ordered to stand in front of the vehicle. At that point, Deputy Green determined to place defendant under arrest for interference. If you watch the video, you'll see that at the end of the video, they had to read and look up what interference even was. Green just wanted to torture me. So, arrest for interference with detention and failing to follow lawful order. As Deputy Green was placing defendant under arrest, defendant attempted to pull away from Deputy Green. Now you've all seen the video. I was pressed against a car, hands behind my back, one hand behind my back, holding my camera, and I asked him, "Why do I have to follow your orders?" That really pissed him off as he twists and cranks on my arm. That's the truth of what happened. What the prosecution is representing here is pure lies. The only way they can build a case against an innocent man. And then we'll go over their argument. He states that defendant's motion to dismiss covers a lot of the same ground as his motion to suppress, and the state relies on the argument made in the other response. Most of defendant's allegations have nothing to do with whether he committed the offense of failure to disclose identity and interference with detention, and are irrelevant to this case. In addition to his other arguments, the defendant claims that there has been prosecutorial misconduct in this case for the way the state provided discovery. The state asserts that they have complied with Rule 16. Well, I'll let you know right now they have not complied with Rule 16. They have not provided body cam footage through discovery. They have not provided dash cam footage through discovery. They have not provided witness contact information as is detailed under Rule 16. This man is an absolute liar and honestly a piece of shit. Wherefore the state respectfully requests that the court deny defendant's motion to dismiss. Boy, was I pissed. I immediately, within 15 minutes, wrote a reply, sent it out to him, and let's take a look at it. So, in my reply, I give factual clarifications. The claim that Deputy Boots, who instructed defendant to stand in front of the vehicle, defendant continued to approach. That is not what happened. If you watch the video, you'll see that I took 4 steps back to provide space. At no point did defendant advance towards Deputy Boots, and in fact was stepping to the side of the road. I included the YouTube video on Accountability for All's channel for the judge to watch. I covered the lack of suspicion for detention. Prosecution's position: the motion to dismiss and suppress are unrelated to charges of failure to disclose identity and interference with detention. My argument: the legality of the initial detention is directly relevant. Utah Code 77-7-15 permits officers to stop individuals only when there is reasonable suspicion of criminal activity. Absent such suspicion, any detention is unlawful, rendering subsequent charges for failure to identify or alleged interference invalid. I go over the right to resist. I state John Bad Elk versus United States. That guy got a little crazy with it. But the Supreme Court does recognize the right to resist unlawful arrests. I go over the First Amendment right to photograph. The defendant's act of photographing private property from public spaces is portrayed as suspicious or improper. I let them know that the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution protects the right to photograph. When in public spaces where you are lawfully present, you have the right to photograph anything that is in plain view. I make an observation. The prosecution's memorandum acknowledges that the defendant was detained solely for photographing from a public space. The admission underscores the lack of reasonable suspicion or probable cause, highlighting a violation of the defendant's Fourth Amendment rights against unreasonable searches and seizures. I cover the misclassification of the complainant as a victim. The prosecution's characterization of the complainant as a victim due to the defendant's act of photography from a public space is a misrepresentation that lacks legal foundation. Numerous court rulings have affirmed that photography in public spaces is constitutionally protected activity under the First Amendment and does not itself cause harm or violate the rights of others. I state some case law that reaffirms the fact that photography does not cause harm. I again go over the prosecution's failure to provide witness contact information and relevant evidence. And furthermore, I go over the prosecutorial misconduct and malicious prosecution. In Napu versus Illinois, the Supreme Court held that knowingly using false testimony by a prosecutor violates the due process clause of the 14th Amendment. Such misconduct undermines the integrity of judicial processes and can contribute to claims of malicious prosecution. How this applies is the prosecution's reliance on inaccurate factual assertions, such as claiming that the defendant continued to approach Deputy Boots despite instructions, claims that the complainant is a victim, constitutes misrepresentation that impacts the fairness of the proceedings. This behavior supports defendant's contention that the prosecution is engaging in malicious tactics, further justifying the need for judicial scrutiny and appropriate sanctions. And then I give my conclusion. The prosecution's memorandums contain factual inaccuracies and legal misrepresentations that undermine the integrity of the proceedings. The absence of reasonable suspicion for the defendant's detention invalidates subsequent charges. Furthermore, the prosecution's failure to comply with discovery obligation impedes the defendant's right to a fair trial. Defendant respectfully requests the court to grant the motions to dismiss, motion to suppress, compel the prosecution to fulfill discovery obligations, including providing witness contact information and all pertinent evidence, imposing appropriate sanctions on the prosecution for continued noncompliance with discovery orders. So yeah, I wrote that in like 15 minutes. I wanted to slap back as fast as I could. I was really upset at seeing the lies and misrepresentations that the prosecution was using. I feel like I could have covered a few more inaccuracies than I did in my reply, but I think it gets my point across really well. Something else I want to go over is the email exchange that I had with the county attorney over the Facebook comments section on their Facebook page, and also the online reviews for the sheriff's department. They have turned those off since videos have started coming out. The county attorney decided to lie to me in writing. So I want to go over that, let you guys take a look. It starts out with, I'm writing in regards to the fact that the Morgan County, Utah Sheriff's Department has turned off their Facebook comments and their online reviews. He replies to me, eventually, with this. Thank you for reaching out. I have confirmed with the sheriff that his office has turned off all comments on all posts for the past 2 years. That has been the standard of practice and is not specific to your case. My office will not prevent you from pursuing any litigation you intend to pursue. I respond to him, that's great. You just lied to me in writing. It's very obvious by the comments that are on the page currently that it was recently active and recently turned off. Here is one of the recent memes posted a week ago when the comments were still on. Not sure why you're choosing to lie. Not sure why you are pursuing charges in violations of a citizen's constitutional rights. And I don't know why you're not more interested in cleaning house than trying to manage the misconduct. And yeah, you just fully involved yourself in litigation. And I sent him a picture of himself enjoying an eggplant. And I let him know, here's another one, just to let you know that everything's been copied from the page. I end it with, I know you're young, so I'll give you some advice. Do the right thing. It always makes everything easier. So go ahead and give them the legal advice that you should be giving to protect the county from a lawsuit, and tell them to turn their comments back on, both on the Facebook page and for online reviews. And it is directly related to my case, but bigger than that, it's related to the First Amendment rights of every citizen of the United States of America. Then I decide to send him a video that was made from a good man, a great man. Brian, if you're watching, I love you, brother. Thank you. And I tell him this. I really suggest you give proper legal advice to the Sheriff's Department regarding public forums and the First Amendment. If you are confused about the legality of it, the video covers the law regarding public forums for you. And now I've just sent him daily reminders as he has refused to reply. So yeah, I've had a little bit of fun with it. But the truth is, it's made everything harder. It's made it harder to work, harder to pay bills, harder to live. This legal case has consumed my time, my energy, my life. But I've kept going because I know this matters. To walk away would dishonor every activist who came before. I will not be intimidated. I will not be broken. And I will not back down. The hearing is on May 20th. It's via WebEx, so it's public. If any of you want to attend the court hearing or the trial, just send me a message, get a hold of me, make a comment, and I will send you the link when they send me the invite for the trial. And you guys can watch it all go down. Now a message to the prosecution. I am filing a complaint with the Utah State Bar and the Office of Professional Conduct. Your behavior is not going to go unchecked. To the judge, if you want to find me guilty of a crime I didn't commit, if you enable this corruption, I will appeal. I will sue. And I will see that you no longer sit in judgment over others. To the people that stand with me, share this story. expose the truth, and let it be a warning that if they can do this to me, they can do it to you. And that's what needs to change. Before I end the video, let me speak to something that's bigger than me, bigger than my case. This country is bleeding. And if you don't see it, you've been lulled to sleep. We're being lied to. We're being manipulated. Our freedoms are being auctioned off piece by piece to the highest bidder. And too many of us are too distracted, too beaten down, or too afraid to speak out. We have a government that's telling us that inflation is good and necessary, while they empty our wallets. That censorship is safety, whilst they silence whistleblowers and truth tellers. They shut down transparency, they bury evidence, and they call it justice. They have stripped the Department of Justice of its power to even investigate police and hold them accountable. They're betraying our allies for power, money, and political games. They are wanting to redraw the maps why we can't afford to buy food. This is not a mistake. It's their strategy. We've been lied to for decades. Heck, they told us Hitler died in a bunker in Germany. The whole time they knew that he escaped to South America by submarine because it was one of our submarines that took him there. They knew he was living protected, that he was raising children, and that he was dying of Parkinson's disease. And the CIA documented this. What else have they lied to us about? How many truths have they buried? How many sacrifices have they demanded from us while hiding corruption, their own corruption, right in plain sight? Are you okay with that? Are you okay with not knowing where your money goes? Are you okay with spending your life working and not knowing what your money is going to and what it's supporting? Because this is no longer left and right. It's about truth and deception. You either believe in liberty or you're sleepwalking through tyranny. We live in a rules-based society. We do. But it only works if it applies to everybody. If those that are making the laws are the ones breaking them, we don't have a system of justice. We have a system of control. So I ask, what are you willing to give? Will you sacrifice your time, your comfort, your job, your reputation? Would you risk standing up when they tell you to sit down? Would you speak out when they demand silence? Would you bleed for freedom if that's what it took? This ain't a call to violence, but it is a call for courage. This is not about burning the world down, but about reigniting the flame that makes this nation great. The light of liberty, truth, freedom, and justice. My hero, and I'm sure a lot of yours hero, I think one of the greatest people who ever lived, Martin Luther King. He didn't march to be liked. He marched to be heard. He didn't fight to be comfortable. He fought to be free. And freedom always, always comes with a cost. I ask you to help me let the world know that we are awake, that we're watching, that we won't be quiet, that we're not polite, and we will not allow ourselves to be controlled. Let history remember that we didn't sit down. We stood up. We didn't shut up. We fought. We stood. And yes, we bled if necessary. Because that's what freedom costs. If you watch this whole video, and do me a favor, type freedom in the comments below. I appreciate you guys watching and taking the time. All the support, once again, thank you. And God bless.
Retaliation on tape, caught in the act. Real estate shooter, but justice got hijacked. Tripods topple, freedom wobbles. The badge ain't a crown, but they treat it like gospel.